You hit the goal, you checked the box, you did everything they said would make you happy, and still something feels off. The peace you imagined would come with success never showed up. You've built what others would call a great life, and yet deep down it doesn't really feel the way that you thought it would. There's this quiet restlessness that you can't explain. And that moment is more common than people admit. And when it arrives, it's deeply disorienting. Because on paper, you've done everything right. You've played by the rules, achieved the milestones, you've stayed disciplined, and still fulfillment feels like just out of reach. And you start to wonder, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why doesn't this feel better? But here's the truth. You're not broken. You're just waking up. We grow up in a world that celebrates achievement and teaches us to equate productivity with peace. So if you just hit the next goal, you just earn the next promotion, you just build the next thing, then finally you'll feel whole. Here's the problem. Success doesn't heal what's unsettled inside of us. It just reveals it. So when your inner world is anchored in peace, achievement becomes an expression of that peace. But when your heart is restless, even the biggest wins can't quiet the noise. So you reach the top of the mountain and you just realize that the view is not what you hoped it would be. So that's why this season that you're in is not failure. It's just feedback. It's your soul asking better questions. Oh, why am I chasing this pace? What am I really after? Where did I lose my sense of meaning? I've seen this moment happen in boardrooms, in startups, in ministries, and in quiet kitchens late at night. It's sort of that slow realization that your success has been built on outcomes instead of alignment. You've been measuring fruit, but losing sight of the roots. And that gap between what you're doing and who you're becoming, that gap is where emptiness is going to grow. Because listen, when life runs faster than your soul, the first thing to fade is your peace. You can't outperform a lack of purpose. You can't outwork misalignment. And those symptoms, they show up really subtly. It's restlessness, it's a fatigue, an irritability, a numbness. And it's not that you've lost your drive. It's that your drive has just lost direction. And if you keep ignoring that ache, success doesn't just stay empty. Right? It really does start to own you. You begin performing for your peace instead of living from it. So the question is, what do you do when success stops satisfying you? So to me, there are three movements that help realign your heart and bring fulfillment back into focus. So it's clarity, identity, and stewardship. So start with clarity. Clarity asks the questions that success never taught you to ask. So you're asking questions like, what am I actually chasing? And who told me that's what matters? Because somewhere along the way, what began as a genuine desire to create or contribute can quietly shift into a need to prove. And it's not obvious. It happens slowly over years of performing for approval instead of working from alignment. So clarity brings everything back into focus. It reminds you that goals are good, but they're not the goal. They're just tools and they're not trophies. They're meant to serve your calling, but not necessarily to define that calling. So when you see that clearly, the noise starts to quiet down a little bit. Now then comes identity. And this is where the work moves deeper. It moves from what you do over to who you are. Because if your worth depends on your wins, your peace is always going to be temporary. So when you're up, you feel valuable. And when you fall short, you're going to feel invisible. And that cycle never ends. It just changes the scenery that it shows up in. So identity is what steadies you when success stops satisfying. It's remembering that your value isn't earned. Your value is entrusted to you. You were created in the image of peace itself. And that's why achievement can never ever replace it. When you start to believe that truth, your work begins to flow a little bit differently. You stop striving for approval and start showing up from acceptance. So at that point, progress becomes a reflection of your presence and not necessarily a proof of your worth. You begin to work from rest instead of working for it. And that's really where stewardship enters the story. Striving says it's all up to me. Stewardship says I'm responsible for faithfulness and not control. And that's not apathy, it's just being aligned. It's choosing to be fully present with what God has given you today, trusting Him with the outcomes that you cannot see yet. And I remember when that shift happened for me. For years, I was chasing impact, right? Good things, but on my terms. And my prayers sounded a lot like, God, please bless me with what I'm building. But over time, those prayers changed. They started to sound more like, God, align my heart with what you're building. And that single shift really changed everything for me. Faith didn't erase my ambition. It just redeemed it. It reframed my goals through a new lens. The question stopped being, how can I win? And it more became, how can I walk faithfully in what I'm called to? And that's where pressure finally broke. That's where peace began to grow again. And maybe that's what this season is trying to teach you. The emptiness isn't punishment. It's just grace disguised as stillness. It's really God inviting you to stop performing long enough just to stop and listen. To remember who you are before the world told you what you needed to become. Remember, fulfillment isn't found in chasing the next mountain. It's really found in becoming the kind of person who can rest even while you climb. It's not alignment, it's just arrival. So if success feels hollow right now, just pause. You don't need to tear it all down. You don't need to start it over from scratch. You just need to pay attention to what that ache is saying. Because sometimes the ache is sacred. It's how God realigns your heart with His rhythm. And when you learn to listen to it, to slow down instead of pushing through, you start leading differently. You start living differently. And peace becomes your productivity. Presence becomes your legacy. Now, if this message resonates with you, I write a short weekly email called Mindset Musings. So it's just faith-centered reflections designed to help high achievers lead from peace instead of pressure. And you can sign up for that using the link below. And when you're ready to move from clarity to action, book a clarity call. We'll walk through what alignment looks like in your current season so that success stops draining you and starts fulfilling you again. Because fulfillment isn't something you chase. It's something you align with. And when your purpose and your identity are in sync, success stops feeling empty and it starts feeling like peace.